Here's what's going on right now. The State Emergency Operations Center plans to activate tomorrow morning. The State Department of Transportation are readying hurricane response equipment such as bulldozers and chainsaws. Also, the Department of Health and Human Safety is coordinating with the Red Cross and other groups to make sure sheltering and feeding needs can be met. Let's not waste any time and get the latest on Hurricane Florence's track from Chief Meteorologist Chris Holman, standing by in the First Alert Storm Center. Chris?
Okay, Dwan, as you said, we'll get that new update in from the Hurricane Center at 11. I don't think it's going to change a lot, unfortunately, based on the data we're looking at. Here it is on satellite pictures and getting better organized. Remember, Florence was a Category 4 hurricane a few days ago. It weakened rapidly into a tropical storm, but now conditions in the atmosphere are very favorable for this to ramp back up, and almost looks like a little eye is trying to develop there. Actually, that is a pretty well-defined eye. At least looks like it's emerging there on satellite pictures in those last few frames as it moves over some really environmental conditions, very favorable, and warm ocean water. Last check from the Hurricane Center at 5 o'clock, winds were at 85. They may be up a bit, moving west at 7. That forecast track again to the west-northwest. Potential landfall on the North Carolina coast, looking more and more likely. Not set in stone, still 4 days out. Things can change, but not seeing any signs of that tonight, unfortunately. And the last time a Category 4 hurricane hit North Carolina was Hazel back in 1954. Obviously, the state has a lot more people in it right now. The last major hurricane, 3 or higher, was Fran back in 1996. And even then, since then, the population has exploded across the coast and, of course, here in the Triangle, Fayetteville, too. So a lot of folks haven't experienced a hurricane of this magnitude. Potentially, if it comes ashore as a 4, it's going to be a catastrophic event for the coast. It weakens rapidly on this track. Big if it follows this track. But notice the slowdown. This is a 24-hour period here. So is this. Half the amount of movement. It's going to encounter high pressure to the north, and that may cause it to stall. The wind threat will diminish by, say, Saturday or Sunday, but the rainfall threat, extreme rainfall threat, will not if it does indeed stall. Again, a lot of big ifs, but the computer models pretty much right now clustered in on the North Carolina coast. It doesn't get really that much more tightly clustered 4 days out. Never really seen that. Doesn't mean it won't change. Still a couple near the coast, but most of them between Cape Lookout and say Myrtle Beach or so. And notice you don't see too many going up into Virginia. That's the stall, which would keep it over some part of the state, which would cause extreme amounts of rain in some areas if that happens. Look at the water temperatures out here, already above 80, but it's going to go over some ocean water that's above 80, 82, 83 to 84, a couple of degrees above average. Even along the coast, water temperatures are still near 80, and the depth of warm ocean water is pretty deep, and that's going to allow this thing potentially to explode rapidly in intensity into a major hurricane, Category 3, 4. Maybe not out of the question that at least briefly it's a 5. High pressure again will dictate where it goes. If it weakens a bit, it will allow a turn to the north, but signs more and more point to more of a onshore event with this. Tropical 4 strength winds, 8 o'clock Wednesday evening near the coast, and then during the Thursday time frame into Thursday morning especially, we'll start to see the winds increasing, but they really won't get into at least danger category until Thursday night into Friday, and not impossible with a storm that strong. We see hurricane force wind gusts anyway as far north as the Triangle. That's winds of 74 miles per hour or greater. Again, 4 days out, so don't want you to think that's exactly what's going to happen, but it certainly is on the table. Rainfall amounts, you can't say, oh, Roanoke Rapids are going to get 2 and Greensboro is going to get 15, but the potential is there for 10+ inches of rain in some areas, and of course areas to the southeast of the Triangle which suffered through Matthew and the flooding there, not something you want to see. That's another aspect that could cause big problems here. So the wind damage potentially, and also the rain, extreme amounts of rain later in the week. Landfall again late Thursday. Here inland, damaging winds potentially could knock down trees and power lines Thursday night into Friday. Flooding rains are at least a possibility. And of course with that, the power outages not just at the coast, but inland as well. Steve Stewart's here with me. More on this storm. And we had a storm this evening that caused some, at least a wind gust in Moore County up to 55 miles per hour. We'll show you that and talk about the weather the rest of this week. The impacts here coming up just a bit. Dwan?